I'm kicking off a series of brief videos to introduce the concepts of systems thinking. And one of the reasons I think this is really important in times of great social change is that there's a difference between the way a system behaves and the way members of the system would like it to behave. And so this series is going to introduce basic concepts of systems thinking and how those are diagrammed, and then where it makes sense, we'll try to tie these concepts into some of the chaos that we're seeing out in the world today. So please leave comments and ask questions, and we'll just get started. All right, so this is my little cute chicken, and this is an egg, and there's this age-old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And we'll say both. And this is an example of circular causality. That sounds fancy, but I'm going to explain what that means. Chickens cause eggs. Eggs cause chickens, they cause one another, and it goes in a circle, so the cause is circular. And the more chickens you have, the more eggs you get, and the more eggs you have, the more chickens you get. So I'm putting a little positive sign right here. Then this is what we call an amplifying loop. Why is that? Because, oh, that's hard to read. Sorry about that. It's an amplifying loop. The more chickens you have, the more eggs you have. The more chickens, the more eggs. The more chickens, the more eggs. The more chickens, the more eggs. It just keeps growing. And if I graphed that on a timeline, you would have a J curve. There's just more and more chickens and more eggs. Nothing is stopping that. This is what we call a virtuous cycle. This little symbol kind of looks like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's the symbol for an amplifying loop. And just like that snowball, the further it rolls, the bigger it gets. The more this cycle spins, the more chickens you have. Constant growth, because nothing is disrupting that. Until the more chickens you have, the more road crossings you have. And when chickens start crossing roads, some of them are going to die. So the more road crossings you have, the less chickens there are. So now we have hit a limiting factor. The limiting factor that stops this rampant growth is road crossings in our little fantasy world, right? Okay, so the more chickens there are, the more road crossings. But the more road crossings, the fewer chickens. And this is called a balancing loop, because instead of just more and more, the population kind of balances out. It might look like this. If you just graph a balancing loop, you're going to have more chickens, less chickens, more chickens, less chickens, more chickens, less chickens, right? It's a cycle. And obviously this is grossly oversimplified. But the point is that this is a balancing loop. And the symbol for that is a little balance beam. Like so. Okay, so what does this have to do with anything? I'm glad you asked. So the world is comprised of multiple massive, complex, and adaptive systems. And the causes and effects are not always close together in space and time. And in order for us to understand and navigate this world of complex, ginormous systems, we have to start to understand the littlest component parts of a system. And so the entire world could be mapped out in a series of these little loops. The amplifying loops would show where there was a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle, when something just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. That's another kind of amplifying loop. It's just snowballing out of control. That's why we have the little snowball symbol. And so the whole world is this complex maze of balancing and amplifying loops. And to start to understand some of the patterns and the resulting chaos, I thought it would be useful for us to have a shared language. And so this is your very first lesson on systems. And I'll be back soon with a couple of other concepts. These are going to build. So if this feels like it could be your thing, come back. If it's not your thing, that's fine. Not everybody thinks like this, and that's okay. Hey, take care. Bye.